Imagine stepping into your backyard one morning, expecting peace, only to find a wedding planner erecting a floral arch over your Polunin VY TED, unannounced and without permission. That's exactly what happened to me. I'm not exaggerating. A woman I'd never met, the HOA president from the neighboring subd VY Shaun, decided my pool was the perfect venue for her daughter's wedding. No call, no note, no conversation, just a full-on takeover. When I told her to stop, she stared me down and said, "It's already happening." That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with a typical nosy neighbor. This was Laura Hensley, an HOA tyrant, and it was game on. It began on a quiet Saturday. I'd poured myself a steaming coffee and settled into my deck chair by the pool. The water shimmered in the morning light, jasmine bloomed on the trellis, and a hummingbird darted around the feed-era postcard-perfect scene. My backyard was my haven, built with my own hands over 5 years. Every patio stone, the pool remodel, the flower beds mirroring my grandmother's designate was personal, a reflection of me. Best of all, it sat just beyond the reach of the nearby HOA's petty rules, which suited me fine. I'd heard the horror stories and wanted no part of it. Then a voice shattered the calm. "Excuse me, are you the homeowner?" I turned to see a woman at the edge of my yard, stiff posture, hands on hips, lips pursed like she'd bitten into a sour fruit. She wore a power suit on a weekend and gripped a clipboard like a shield. I knew instantly, Laura Hensley, president of the Pine Ridge HOA. Neighbors had warned me about her fining people for mismatched furniture, banning wind chimes, even shutting down a kid's lemonade stand. She thrived on spoiling joy. I nodded. "Yeah, this is my place. Can I help you?" No smile from her. She stepped closer, too close for comfort, and launched into her spiel. "I'm here representing Pine Ridge. We've had complaints about your pool area. It's visible from our upper lots, and the aesthetic doesn't align with our community's theme." I blinked. "You mean my backyard?" She nodded, all business. "Yes, it's quite bold. The blue tiles, the bright umbrellas, very tropical. We prefer muted tones in Pine Ridge." I couldn't help it. I laughed, a deep, genuine laugh. She was on my property, asking me to tweak my yard because it clashed with a neighborhood I didn't live in. "I'm not in your HOA," I said. "This isn't your jurisdiction. You don't get a say here." Laura didn't blink. "Technically, yes, but adjacent properties create a shared VY Sewell impact zone." I raised an eyebrow. "You just made that up, didn't you?" She gave a thin smile, said, "We'll be in touch," and left. I thought that was the end of it, just another control freak flexing imaginary muscle. I was wrong. A week later, a letter arrived on official-looking stationery, notification of temporary use authorization. It claimed my pool had been approved for Jessica Hensley's Laura's daughter's wedding, with setup starting Monday. It said I'd agreed as a good neighbor gesture, complete with a forged signature. My jaw hit the floor. I called the number listed, and Laura answered, chipper as ever. "So glad you got the letter. I knew you'd come around." I told her I'd approved nothing. She sighed, exasperated. "The NVY tat irons are out. Canceling would ruin Jessica's day. Think of the optics. Think of the trespassing charges," I shot back. She hung up with a breezy, "We'll talk Monday." Monday morning, I was ready, deed in hand. No trespassing sign posted, and at VYC from my lawyer pal, Mike. But nothing prepared me for the sight. Trucks unloading tables, caterers bustling, a wedding planner shouting orders, fairy lights strung across my pergola. Laura stood in the center, arms crossed, beaming like she owned it. I marched up. "Stop this now. You're trespassing." She handed me a fake contract with my signature. "We've made arrangements. You'll be compensated for damages. Let's not spoil Jessica's day." I stared at her smug face, and something clicked, not anger, but a calm, cunning resolve. If she wanted my pool, she'd get a wedding she'd never forget. I went inside and hatched a plano, yelling, "No lawsuits, just pure, bubbly chaos." Laura wasn't just overbearing. She was delusional, forging documents and commanding strangers like a dictator. I called Mike again. He laughed. "She's nuts. You've signed nothing real, so you're golden. Document everything, photos, the YDSN, call the sheriff if she steps foot on your land." I set up cameras, added a motion-activated floodlight for flare, and waited. The next day, a delivery guy dropped off a wedding arch. "Laura Hensley ordered it," he said. "Said you're the owner's cousin and approved it." I sent him packing, but Laura upped the ante with a new letter threatening legal consequences for non-compliance, citing emotional distress. Mike texted back a laughing emoji. Cease and desist? Or fun first? Fun one. I watched Laura parade around with her HOA cronies, acting like we were pals smoothing out wedding details. One asked to use my bar for the cake. I smiled, nodded, and said, sure, whatever you need. I was done arguing. I'd give them my pool my way. I called my cousin, Sarah, a former foam party pro, and asked how much bubble solution could turn my pool into a frothy mess. She cackled and hooked me up with a supplier. 6 gallons of industrial-strength, non-toxic suds later, I enlisted my buddy Tim, a pond filter whiz, to rig the pool pump. We worked nights testing the setup, while I played nice by daylighting the planner scout, nodding at Laura's rose and cocktail rants. The day before the wedding, Laura strutted over, smug as ever. We'll be gone by 7. You won't even know we were here. I smiled. Hope it goes beautifully. She had no clue. That night, I triple-checked. Timer set for noon. The ceremony's star cameras rolling, bubble drums ready. Neighbors, fed up with Laura, brought snacks to watch. One kid bet she'd fall in. Saturday dawned like a MOVY set. Flowers, lights, a string quartet tuning up. Guests sipped mimosas as I watched from my porch, coffee in hand. Laura waved smugly. I raised my mug. At 11:59, the pump hummed. Foam crept across the pool slowly, then a tidal wave of suds. Guests gasped, shrieked, laughed. Chairs vanished under froth, the cake collapsed, and Jessica, the bride, froze in her gown, jaw slack. Laura spun toward me, leaved, slipped on wet grass, and lost a shoe to the foam. It was glorious. She stormed my porch, screaming about sabotage and emotional terrorism. I stayed calm, coffee in hand, cameras catching it all. You're on my property, at an event I didn't approve, with guests I didn't invite. This is my pool, my pump, my bubbles. You want it clean? Enjoy the lavender scent. She gaped, speechless, as guests fled, some laughing, others muttering. The cops arrived. Laura's doing claiming a soap ambush. The officer smirked, saw my deed and sign, heard her rant, and told her she was lucky I wasn't pressing charges. The fallout was epic. Videos went viral. Laura's tantrum remixed, her shoe adrift in foam. The neighborhood buzzed. The HOA ousted her after uncovering her fun misuse. She tried suing me, but Mike's response shut her down. She moved away, tail between her legs. I threw a barbecue, and the new HOA crew joined, sheepish but relieved. My yard was mine again, peaceful, with a faint lavender whiff lingering, a reminder that sometimes justice is best served bubbly.